When I was little, my parents worked all the time. They both had 2 jobs to support me and my older brother, Cameron. Their jobs helped us get by, but they were gone most of the day. So, they found a babysitter online. She was a young white girl named Michelle, probably in her early 20s. For about 4 to 5 months, she came over every weekday to look after us. I was 7 and Cam was 8, and we both really liked Michelle. She was kind, fun, and full of energy, so we had a great time with her, way better than having a grumpy older babysitter. We did school online since real school was too much for our parents to handle, and Michelle helped us a lot with that too. When summer came, my parents told Michelle to take a break and enjoy a vacation. She had worked hard, and they wanted her to relax. But that also meant we didn't have anyone to watch us. Instead of finding someone new, our parents decided to drop Cam and me off at our grandparents' house. They lived in the Texas countryside, which was far from our home in Oklahoma, but we'd be staying there all summer. That Saturday, we started the drive. The view was pretty, but for little me, it felt long and boring. We finally got there. It was a medium-sized cabin in a big open field with woods behind it. Off to the side was a barn-style building with animals like cows, goats, chickens, and more. We said hi to everyone, and Grandpa took us on a little tour. Mom and Dad stayed inside talking to Grandma while she cooked. That night was wonderful. We caught up with our grandparents and played with their dog, Cora. At bedtime, Cam and I shared a room with a bunk bed and a TV. Our parents slept in the next room. They were tired from the trip and had to go back home for work the next day. Cam and I stayed up a little while watching cartoons. Eventually, we fell asleep with the TV still on. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to heavy footsteps outside the window. I couldn't see anything because of the blinds, but I definitely heard someone walking. Cam was still asleep because the TV was on, but I heard a weird noise from the window, then a grunt. Someone was trying to open it. I ran to wake up my parents. They thought I imagined it, but they still went to check. No one was there, so they said it was probably just an animal. After lying in bed for 5 minutes, I fell back asleep. In the morning, the smell of Grandma's cooking woke me up. My parents were getting ready to leave. We all had breakfast together, and then they left. Grandpa took Cam and me to feed the animals and walk Cora. I wanted to hold her leash, so Grandpa gave it to me and told me to hold tight, but Cora kept slowing down. When I turned to see why, she was staring at the woods. I looked too and saw a black figure hiding behind a tree, watching us. He had his hands on the tree like he was peeking out, but his whole body was showing. I turned to tell Grandpa, but he and Cam were already far ahead. I pulled Cora and caught up. When I told Grandpa about the man, he was gone, completely vanished. I should have seen where he went, but there was nothing. Grandpa already knew about the noise from the night before, so he took me seriously, though he said it was probably a deer I scared off. After feeding the animals, we went back inside and had fun watching movies and playing in the sprinklers. That night, Grandma made an amazing dinner. I was so full and tired that I took a quick bath and went to bed. Cam and I watched cartoons again before sleeping. Around 1 a.m., I woke up to someone humming outside the window, the same Cyberchase song playing on the TV. Cam didn't wake up, and again, the blinds were closed, so I couldn't see who it was. I thought it might be Grandpa, maybe smoking and humming. That didn't really make sense, but I was just a kid. I called out, "Grandpa?" The humming stopped. Then, after 30 seconds, I heard, "Hey, it's Grandpa. Come out here. I want to show you something cool." I put on my shoes and went outside. It was dark, but the stars looked beautiful. Near the window, I saw someone who looked like Grandpa. He held out his hand and I took it. He led me toward the barn. I asked where we were going, but he didn't answer. Then I started thinking, why would Grandpa be outside so late? Why did he have his hood up? I looked at his hand more closely and saw it wasn't Grandpa's. It was younger. I tried pulling away, but he gripped tighter. I didn't say anything. I was scared but stayed calm. Then I noticed a long handle in his back pocket. That's when I got really scared. Suddenly, I heard my real Grandpa calling from the house. The man turned his head toward the voice. I took the chance to yank my hand away and back up. The man stood there for a moment, then ran into the woods. I sprinted back to the house, yelling. Grandpa was there waiting with open arms. Grandma was already on the phone with the police. The cops arrived quickly and searched the area. They found the man hiding in a ditch nearby. In the ditch were things he'd stolen from the barn. Worst of all, he had an axe tucked in his pants. They also found the lock on the shed had been broken. That shed had tools that could have caused real harm, Later, we found out the man was Michelle's ex-boyfriend. Let's call him Dave. He had been stalking us and planned to kidnap me. He said he chose me because he knew Michelle cared about me. He believed if he threatened me, Michelle would do whatever he wanted. He claimed he never planned to hurt me, just use me to get her back. After all this, our parents came to get us a week later. They started searching for better jobs so they could be home more. They also let Michelle go, which made sense. I'm so thankful the police were close and especially grateful Grandpa woke up that night to use the bathroom. Even after 20 years, I still get chills thinking about what could have happened. My name's Evan. I'm 28. After getting divorced, I moved to a small town in Alabama called Chatham. I didn't have anywhere else to go except my parents' place, so I moved into my late grandfather's house. He had passed a few years ago and left it to our family. The house is about 10 minutes from town, sitting on 10 acres surrounded by woods. It's super quiet. I thought I'd like that. The house is old, creaky wooden floors, sticky doors, always cold even with the heat turned up. But it was free, and I didn't have better options. The first few nights were normal. I unpacked, cleaned up, and sat on the porch with a beer. It was peaceful. No cars, just wind in the trees and the sound of owls. Then the noises began. On the 7th night, around midnight, just as I was falling asleep, I heard whistling outside. It was a weird tune, slow and off-key. It sounded like someone walking through the woods behind the house, whistling as they moved. It creeped me out, but I thought maybe it was a hunter or a drunk neighbor. The next night, it happened again. Same time, same tune, but closer. I got up, turned on the porch light, saw nothing. I went outside with a flashlight. Still nothing. No footprints, no noise, just the whistle fading into the woods. I tried to ignore it. For a few nights, I stayed in bed and hoped to sleep through it. But every time, the whistling started at about 1:17 a.m. I know that sounds random, but it was always between 1:15 and 1:19. Like clockwork, I started to think someone was messing with me. A few days later, I called the sheriff. An older deputy, let's call him Deputy H, came by. He'd been around a long time. When I told him about the whistling, he got quiet and said, "Your granddad used to call us for the same thing. Said someone whistled around the house late at night in spring. We never found anything. I thought he was just old, but now you're hearing it too." That shook me. I had no idea my grandpa went through this. Deputy H told me to stay inside and keep the doors locked. I started doing that, double-checking every window. One night, I even put chairs under the doorknobs, but the whistling kept coming closer. One night, I heard it behind the shed. It was louder, like someone was right there. I peeked through the blinds with a flashlight, saw nothing, and I didn't go out. The next night, it came from the front porch. 3 long whistles, then silence. The night after that, it came from under the floorboards, like someone was in the crawl space, whistling through the vents. I didn't sleep at all. Next day, I searched the attic and found a box of my grandfather's journals. He wrote about the whistling, said it happened every spring for over 10 years. He didn't know who it was, but thought someone was watching the house. He used to sit by the front door with a rifle, just in case. He said it only started after my grandma died, when he lived alone. I called Deputy H again. He came back, read the journal, and looked worried. He told me, "Don't open the door unless you know who it is." That night, I stayed up with a shotgun on my lap, even though I barely knew how to load it. At 1:17 a.m., the whistling started, this time from inside the house, down the hallway. I froze. The hallway light was off, but I heard the whistling coming closer with each step. I stood up, aimed the shotgun, and yelled, "Who's there?" The whistling stopped. I turned on the hallway light. No one was there. I didn't sleep again after that. 2 nights passed with no sound. I was getting sick from stress. I didn't know who this was or why they were targeting me or my grandfather, but it was real. I don't believe in hallucinations or ghosts. This was a real person. On the 3rd night, I went to bed after midnight, left the hallway light on just in case. At exactly 1:17, I woke up to a new sound, knocking. Slow, 3 knocks coming from inside from the back door, then silence. I didn't move. Then I heard a floorboard creak in the hallway, then another. Someone was walking. The hallway light went out. I grabbed the shotgun, heart racing, and stepped out. The hallway was dark, and at the end of it stood a person, wearing black, with a pale face, just standing, staring. I raised the shotgun with shaky hands and said, "Don't move." The figure slowly lifted a leg, like they were about to run. I shouted, "Stop!" and they bolted out of sight. I heard heavy footsteps running out the front door. I chased after them and fired a shot straight into the darkness, not into the air, hoping I'd hit them. I yelled, "Don't come back!" The sound rang through the house. I locked everything, jumped into my truck, and drove to town. I slept in the truck that night. The next morning, Deputy H went to check the house. The front door was unlocked. That meant whoever it was had a key. Nothing was stolen or broken, but he said I should change the locks. Off the record, he said I should move out. Someone out there didn't like me or my grandfather living in that house. I went straight to the hardware store and changed the locks. That same day, I left and went to my parents' place in another state. Eventually, we sold the house. We took anything important and left the rest behind. My dad never told the buyers about the creepy stuff, about someone possibly stalking the place for decades. Who they were, how they had a key, and why Grandpa never said anything, I'll never know. It still haunts me. I think it was some messed up person living nearby. I now live in a city. That experience scared me too much to ever live alone in the woods again. I'm 16 now and live in the city, but I spent my first 8 years growing up in the countryside. Some people might find it odd, but even as a young kid, I was allowed to walk around the small village on my own. The place was tiny, only about 90 people lived there. Everyone knew each other so well that my friends and I even remembered which car belonged to who. One hot summer day, my friend, I'll call him Julian, and I really wanted a cold can of Coca-Cola. Back then, soda was super cheap in those small stores, and we just needed a few more coins to buy 2 cans. Luckily, an old lady called us over from her house. She said she wanted to make mint tea for her birthday but had run out of mint. She told us if we filled 2 plastic bags with mint leaves, she'd buy us as much soda as we wanted. That sounded perfect to us, especially since I didn't want to ask my parents for money. So we went searching. The sun was burning our heads, and our clothes were soaked with sweat. We looked everywhere but only managed to fill half of 1 bag. We were frustrated because we knew we wouldn't finish before sunset. Still, we kept walking, hoping to find a big patch of mint. Suddenly, 2 tall guys appeared out of nowhere. And by tall, I mean like 5 feet 7 inches, but to us 7-year-olds, they looked huge. What really stood out was their black hoodies and tight pants. They didn't look older than 17, but we couldn't see their faces well. They spoke nicely, almost in a playful voice, trying not to seem strange. "Are you kids alone?" one of them asked. Julian looked nervous and motioned for us to leave, but I didn't get the message. I just smiled and said, "Yeah, we're looking for mint leaves. Do you know where we can find more?" I think one of them smirked when he heard that. One crouched down and patted my head, which made Julian grab my arm and pull me back a bit. He looked panicked and asked, "Who are your parents?" In our village, asking about your parents usually meant giving your family name. Everyone knew each other's families, so it helped identify people. Julian grew up there, so he knew everyone. I guess he was scared because he didn't recognize them, and the way they were talking to us, touching my head, it made him feel something was wrong. The guys didn't answer the question. Instead, they focused on me. Actually, one said, "We saw a big mint field over that hill. We can show you and help you fill the bags." We knew that hill well. We used to play hide and seek in the forest at night, but I had never seen mint growing there, just corn, grapes, and watermelons. Still, I was a clueless kid, and none of this seemed dangerous to me. I eagerly agreed and pulled Julian along. The guys seemed pleased and started walking ahead. We followed them, getting farther and farther from the village. I felt Julian's hand shaking in mine. A chill ran through me as we walked, realizing the village was no longer in sight. The forest was ahead, and there was no mint field at all. I asked where we were going, but they just said things like, "You'll see," or "Just be patient." My heart started racing. I slowed down, feeling panic build up inside me. Something didn't feel right, but I kept moving like I couldn't stop. I was sure something bad would happen if we turned around. Then Julian leaned close and whispered in my ear, "Something's wrong. Run." I still get chills remembering that moment. He suddenly took off downhill, holding my hand tightly. I ran like my life depended on it, because maybe it did. I could hear the guys yelling and chasing after us. I cried out loud in fear, not stopping for a second. Somehow, I ran nearly 2 kilometers without falling or even breathing, it felt like. When we reached the village, the lady who asked us for mint saw us pale, sweaty, and crying. She brought us inside and gave us chocolate to calm down. She asked what happened, and Julian told her the whole story. I couldn't even speak. She looked worried but also scolded us for being careless. She scolded Julian especially, since he told her I didn't want to follow the guys and he convinced me. After that, he wasn't allowed to go out and play for a whole month. I, on the other hand, needed time to recover from the fear. We never found out who those guys were or what they wanted. But now that I'm older, I have a pretty good idea, and it scares me. While we were running, I could have easily tripped on that steep hill. But Julian, who is now my boyfriend, never let go of my hand. I don't even want to think about what could have happened if he hadn't been there.